The United States of America, the country that once called the shots for the entire planet, is being left out of the room. Not by enemies, by its own allies. And while Donald Trump sits there rage posting on social media like a man screaming into a void, France, Japan, the Philippines, the United Kingdom and dozens of other nations are quietly, methodically cutting deals with Iran behind his back. Let that sit with you for a second. The so-called leader of the free world is finding out in real time that the world has moved on without him. Now look, I know that sounds dramatic, but I'm not exaggerating a single thing here. Every piece of what I'm about to walk you through is documented. It's reported. It's happening right now. And if you're only watching American cable news, you probably have no idea any of this is going on. That's by design, but I'm going to walk you through this piece by piece, receipt by receipt, because what's unfolding right now isn't just a bad week for Trump's foreign policy. This is a full-blown geopolitical realignment, the kind of thing historians write entire books about, and we are living through it in real time. So let's start with France, because what France just pulled off is, honestly, it's kind of breathtaking. A container ship signalling French ownership just exited the Strait of Hormuz. Now, if you don't know what that means, let me paint the picture. The Strait of Hormuz has been essentially shut down. This is the most important oil choke point on planet Earth. About a fifth of the world's oil supply flows through that narrow waterway. And ever since this war, this reckless, unilateral military adventure that the United States and Netanyahu launched without consulting anyone, Iran has locked it down. Ships weren't getting through. Global energy markets were thrown into chaos. And here comes France, a country that Donald Trump has been publicly mocking, whose president's wife Trump has been personally insulting on camera. France just sailed right through. Now think about that. How did they do it? They didn't bomb their way through. They didn't send a carrier group. They didn't threaten Iran with annihilation. They negotiated. They worked the diplomatic channels. Behind the scenes, France went to the United Nations Security Council and used its power as a permanent member to block any resolution that would authorize a military invasion or forced reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. France said no. We're not doing it your way, Donald. We're not going to war for your ego. We're going to talk to Iran like adults. And guess what? It worked. That French ship sailed through because France earned passage through diplomacy, the thing the United States used to be the best in the world at. Bloomberg is reporting that Iran has set up what is essentially a toll system in the Strait of Hormuz. They're charging somewhere between $1 to $3 per barrel of oil for passage. You can feel however you want about that, but here is the reality. Iran controls that waterway right now. That is the fact on the ground. And instead of screaming about it on social media, France recognized that reality and worked within it. They partnered with Oman. They engaged Iran directly. They used actual statecraft. And they got their ship through. France, a country Trump treats like a doormat, just outmaneuvered the entire United States diplomatic apparatus. Not with firepower, with brains. And France isn't alone, not even close. Let's talk about Japan. Japan is dealing with an energy crisis right now. They are critically low on liquefied natural gas, LNG. Their economy, their heating, their power grid, it all depends on that supply. And Japan needed to get a tanker through the Strait of Hormuz, or things were going to get very bad very quickly. So what did Japan do? Did they call Donald Trump and beg for help? No. They went around him. Reports are indicating that Japan, under Prime Minister Takahashi, either negotiated directly with Iran's President Pezeshkian or used intermediaries like Russia or Pakistan to broker a deal. And it worked. Mitsui O.S.K. Lines confirmed that a Japanese-owned LNG tanker crossed through the Strait of Hormuz. And here's the part that shows you how smart Iran is playing this. Iran didn't open the floodgates. They are being surgical about it. They recognise Japan is desperate for LNG, and they're letting just enough through to keep Japan at the negotiating table. Just enough to keep them engaged. Just enough to make Japan understand you need US. Not the US as in the United States, you need US, Iran. That is a level of strategic patience that Donald Trump couldn't spell, let alone execute. Donald Trump rants and raves every day with no plan. It's why he's bankrupted everything he's touched. This casino, that company, this casino again. And now we're watching the same pathology play out on the world stage. Now let's talk about what Macron said in Seoul, because this is where the real story is. This is where you see the future being built. He said, we should not be passive in this new disorder. We have to build a new order. A new order. The President of France is openly, publicly, on a state visit, saying the American-led international system is finished and it's time to build something else. He went further. He said there is room to build new cooperation between Korea and France, bringing with us other Europeans, Canada, Japan, India, Brazil and Australia. A sort of third way, those who don't want to be dependent on China or aligned by definition with the United States. A third way. You add up those countries, Canada, Japan, India, Brazil, Australia, South Korea, the European bloc, that's a massive chunk of the global economy and military power, all saying the same thing. We don't trust America anymore under this guy. And notice the language. He said, we must not be vassals to two dominant powers. We don't want to depend on the dominance of China, and we don't want to be too much exposed to the unpredictability of the US. He doesn't call China unpredictable, he calls China dominant. That's respect. He calls the United States unpredictable. That's what we've become. Not the steady hand, not the reliable partner, the one nobody can count on, because every day there's a new tantrum, a new threat, a new reversal. Then Macron directly called out Trump's credibility. He said, 6 months ago, we were told by the Americans that everything had been destroyed in Iran. Everything had been settled. Clearly, that was not the case. Without international inspectors verifying materials, research and hidden sites, it is simply not serious. A world leader calling the United States not serious. And he's earned the right because his country is the one getting ships through while America can't. On military action, Macron said, I don't believe we will fix the situation just by bombings or military operations. Look at what happened in Iraq, Afghanistan and Libya. We never delivered. Never. Even after 20 years. You have to respect the sovereignty of people. And on the Strait of Hormuz specifically, opening it by force is not the option we have chosen. We consider it unrealistic. A military operation would take an infinite amount of time and expose forces to immense coastal and ballistic risks. It must be reopened only in coordination with Iran. That's the language, cooperation with Iran. Now pull back and look at the full picture. The Philippines, their top diplomat, had a call with Iran's foreign minister and came out saying, productive call today. We reached a positive understanding on the safety of our seafarers and the security of our energy supply. Grateful for the warm spirit of cooperation. Warm spirit of cooperation with Iran. That's the Philippines talking about Iran the way countries used to talk about the United States. You understand how upside down this world has become. And the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, These are the countries that were supposedly under the US security umbrella. These are the countries that were funneling money to Trump in crypto, in real estate, to Kushner's private equity fund, thinking they were buying protection. All those quid pro quos, all that pay for play. And now their Secretary General is out there saying the Council desires to establish normal relations with Iran and resolve all security issues transparently. Gulf countries will take all measures to protect their sovereignty. Read between those lines. They're not doing that with America's help. They're cutting Trump loose and making nice with the people they paid billions to be protected from, because Trump proved to be absolutely worthless as a protector. That is devastating if you think about it. Then there's the United Kingdom. Keir Starmer announced that the UK will convene 30 to 35 countries to discuss the diplomatic and political measures needed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. 35 countries sitting down together without the United States. And here's the unspoken truth behind that meeting. They're planning for when Trump walks away, because everyone knows that's what he does. He creates chaos, gets bored, rage quits, and leaves everyone holding the bag. These countries are getting ahead of it, getting their unified terms ready for when they negotiate with Iran after Trump abandons them. And when that happens, Iran comes out of this in a stronger international position than before the war started. A remarkable outcome. The US launched a military operation to neutralize Iran, and the end result is Iran has never been more legitimate, more needed, or more diplomatically powerful. And what is Donald Trump doing while all this happens? He's posting. He literally told countries that can't get fuel to just go take it. He said, build up some delayed courage and go fight for yourselves because the USA won't help anymore. He went on camera telling the story of calling Macron for help in the Gulf, and Macron said no. And Trump told it like it was a comedy bit. He's making fun of Macron's wife, while Macron is making deals with Iran and building a new world order. Who's winning that exchange? It's not even close. A French general, General Yakovlev, mocked the Trump administration's plan to build a runway inside Iran to extract uranium and fly it out. He said American officials should stop snorting cocaine between one meeting and the next. That's a general from an allied nation saying that about the United States. That's how ridiculous we look to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, Putin's inner circle, they're posting "Goodbye NATO, see you later." Not because Russia defeated NATO militarily, because Donald Trump is dismantling it for them. Every strategic goal Putin has had for 20 years, weakening NATO, isolating the US, fracturing Western alliances, empowering Iran, Trump is delivering on a silver platter. Here is the reality that nobody wants to face. What we're watching isn't just a collection of embarrassments, it's a structural shift in how the world works. For 80 years, the United States sat at the centre of global alliances, trade deals, and security agreements that gave us enormous power. And Trump has taken a wrecking ball to every single thread of that web. NATO allies insulted and abandoned, trade partners slapped with tariffs, military allies told to fend for themselves, and now those countries are doing exactly what Trump told them to do. They're fending for themselves, building new networks, new alliances, new trade routes. None of them include the United States. Prime Minister Carney of Canada has been working hard to unite trans-Pacific trade deals with transatlantic security arrangements. And when you map it all out, when you connect all the dots, there's this giant blank space right in the middle where the United States used to be, alone, isolated, stewing in Trumpian chaos. And these networks, once built, don't just disappear when Trump leaves office. That's what people don't understand. Trust, once destroyed at this level, takes decades to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. France, Japan, South Korea, India, Brazil, the agreements they're building right now will become permanent features of the global order. The next president can't just call up and say, "Hey, we're back." It doesn't work like that. Trump bankrupted casinos. He bankrupted businesses left and right. If there was a Guinness Book of World Records for bankruptcies, he'd be leading it. And now he's bankrupting American influence on the world stage. The pattern is exactly the same. The only difference is the scale. When you bankrupt a casino, a few thousand people lose their jobs. When you bankrupt American foreign policy, the entire world pays the price. So where does this leave us? Iran, the country America was at war with, is now the most important diplomatic partner for half the planet. Dozens of nations are building alliances that route around Washington. The Strait of Hormuz is controlled by Iranian toll booths, not the US Navy. And the president is posting on social media telling allies to figure it out themselves, while French generals mock his military plans. That's not spin, that's not opinion, that's the state of play. Right now, today. And if you're not hearing about it on American media, ask yourself why. Ask yourself who benefits from keeping you in the dark about the entire world reorganizing itself around the incompetence of the American president. The world isn't waiting for America to get its act together. It already stopped waiting. And the proof is sailing through the Strait of Hormuz right now, flying a French flag.